Hi, it's Hugh Foster on the bass here. Time for another video in the bassline series, and these are videos where I break down concepts that are a little bit longer than in my other original tutorial series, which is called Quick Licks. Before we get started, just a quick note to say, if you want to get the backing track and the transcription in PDF, please consider signing up to my Patreon and becoming a supporter. I really appreciate it. So the subject of today's video is arpeggios, broadly speaking, and how I use them to create, more interesting bass lines. It's quite a melodic, lyrical bass line, this one. Moves around the fretboard a little bit. And this one requires a bit of prior knowledge of some scales. In this particular case, I'd say the A minor scale, and it's the natural minor, also known as the Aeolian mode. As for difficulty level, I'd say, if you're a beginner, you can definitely get something from this. Not an absolute beginner, but someone who's learnt a few things and needs to, expand their bass playing a little bit. I'd say it's bordering more on an intermediate level. Let's start with a little bit of context. So, as I said already, it's in an A minor key, A natural minor or Aeolian mode. So we're using all of the notes from the A minor scale. I'll play that one more time. That's the 1 octave A minor scale. We also go as high as this E up here. So having a bit of knowledge of the extended scale around the fretboard is going to be really, really useful here. And a few chord shapes, dare I say. So say if you know a bit of guitar, you'll know about the caged system of chord shapes. Caged is an acronym, I think is the correct word, and that refers to C, A, G, E and D, the 5 main major chord shapes. And if you've played a bit of guitar, you'll know an E shape. If you move that shape up 3 frets, you have this. Okay? One of the arpeggio shapes I'm using in this exercise uses that chord shape, an E shape essentially. And before I break it down as well, what is an arpeggio? Well, it's an Italian word, I believe, but it's also known as a broken chord. And a chord is any 2 different notes, but generally 3-note chords are the most common. They're known as triads. And these notes can be played in a sequence as a broken chord or an arpeggio, ascending, descending, whatever. It's a little less linear than playing scales. Okay, because you're generally speaking jumping across strings or doing big jumps up and down the fretboard. So hopefully that should give you an idea of what an arpeggio is when I'm talking about them in this video. Let's now break down the bass line itself. So we've got a 4-bar sequence: A minor, G, C, and F. And the F is a major 7, an extended jazz chord. And the A is a minor 7, another extended jazz chord. But essentially speaking, they're just chords of A natural minor, A Aeolian. And it's a nice simple one harmonically speaking. There's nothing chromatic as in chords outside of that key. Also, if you know any piano, it's all the white notes on the keyboard. Anyway, so the chord sequence: A minor, G, C, and F. And for each one, I've kind of done something a little bit different for each chord in that sequence. So, first of all, let's just hear the entire main part slowed down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. Okay, I'm going to go into detail on each of those individual arpeggio-based lines. So first of all, we've got something nice and simple. We're just using A, the root of the A minor, E, 7th fret on the A string, so A is the 5th fret on the E string, E, 7th fret on the A string, G, that's the flat 7 of the minor 7 chord, 5th fret on the D string, and then this 7th fret here on the D string is an A again. So 3 notes from the A minor 7 chord. We're not playing the C, which is in that chord. Okay, you don't always have to include all the notes from a chord in the arpeggio that you're playing, but yeah, in this one, that C, I decided not to use it. Maybe it was a bit muddy, you know, whatever. We can make creative decisions, can't we? So yeah, not too tricky there. It does require, you know, some technical ability to be able to do a hammer on and then straight away a pull off in the opposite direction. Okay, but that one's not too tricky. We do straight away though go to a descending arpeggio, which doesn't start on the root. It starts on B, the 3rd of a G chord, or in this case a 10th, because it's the 3rd that's up an octave. That's where, you know, that kind of interval on bass, a 3rd in this register doesn't sound nice, but a 10th does sound nice. So you do hear them a lot in a lot of bass lines. We're going B, 4th fret on the G string, G, 5th fret on the D, D, 5th fret on the A, and then G, 3rd fret on the E. And then the way I'm playing it actually is starting with my first finger, little finger there, 3rd finger, then 1st finger. And that should be a nice comfortable shape to do at speed. Okay, so straight away with this part of the line, we're subverting expectations a little bit. We're going, you know, not from a root note. We're landing on a root note at the end of a phrase. Okay, by landing on a strong beat. So we're landing with the snare drum in this groove. So that's going to be really, really nice for, you know, a nice sort of like satisfying moment. Okay, to move into the next bit, we'll repeat the last 2 notes, but as 16th notes, leading into C, the 3rd chord in the sequence. Now this one's not strictly speaking an arpeggio, it's more using the notes from the pentatonic. You are going from a C and landing on its 3rd, E, on a strong beat. So again, it's kind of, yeah, almost like an arpeggio, but more scale-like. Okay, again, more use of hammer-ons and pull-offs, and also a slide here. So we're going C, 3rd fret on the A string, up to the 5th fret on the A string to play a D, and then slide up to the 7th fret, E, and then moving on to the D string, 5th fret, D, and then doing a hammer-on onto A, the 6th of a C. So one note that isn't in the chord, because the notes in a C chord are C, E, and G. So we're playing around it, we're going, you know, we're using passing notes. Okay, so once again, C, 3rd fret on the A, up to D, 5th fret on that same string, E, 7th fret, G, 5th fret on the D string, hammer on to the A, 7th fret, and then pull off back onto that G on the 5th fret. Okay. And then the last chord in the sequence. Now this one's a bit more, should I say esoteric, the line that I've come up with here. We're starting on E, which is the major 7 of the F major 7 chord. Not a particularly strong note to land on, but straight away we're sliding onto the root note, the F, the 8th fret. Okay, and then we're doing a bit more outlining of the major 7 chord. Okay, so E to F, so going sliding 7th fret to 8th fret, E to F on the A string, and then playing A, the major 3rd of an F, and then straight away onto D, a sixth of an F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then hammer on onto the major 7 in E again. Okay, so that one on its own, yeah, can sound a bit sort of weird and out there, but yeah, I think it's got a nice way of landing on root notes and strong parts of the chord at the right moments, right rhythmic moments. Okay, so once again, that whole bass line in full, the 4-bar sequence. 3, 4, so A minor, G, C, F. One more time, A minor, G, C, F. So that should cover the broad strokes of the 4-bar sequence. But there are a couple of Flair moments in this bass line. So the first one of these comes the second time round we do the sequence, and it's at the end of the line and continues into the start of the sequence again. And that's a really nice thing to do, you know, if you are doing a fill or something like that, to start it, you know, and have it continue into the next bar, and you know, to kind of combine chords from a sequence. And it requires practice, obviously, but I think as long as you're landing it on strong beats, that can really help, you know, give it a satisfying conclusion. I'll play the whole line, and then I'll play the fill that comes at the end of the line and continues into the first chord of the sequence again, A minor. So 3, 4. Here it goes. Okay, so it even goes into the second chord of the sequence, the G. You know, it's the same rhythm, but I've done a different arpeggio there. But yeah, let's go from the F chord again, because that's where it starts this fill, this Flair moment. So there we'd normally hold, but we go down the scale. So to D, 7th fret on the G, C, 10th fret on the D, and then we've got a nice little trill, you could call it there, or an ornament or whatever. Tricky to do, requires, this is where it starts to be more of an intermediate line, because it requires some proper dexterity from your fingers there. So we're going from B up to C, back down to B, and then down to A. At the point where you hit the B, that's where the chord moves to an A minor again. That's a 9th of an A minor. Okay, so that's a really nice open sound, but you land, you resolve it to an A there pretty quickly. And then there it's starting to go on a bit more of a journey again. So the notes involved there, we've got the bit I just spoke about, then E, 7th fret on the A string, C, 8th fret on the E string, B, 7th fret, A, 5th fret, and then an open E. So we're into the second bar of the sequence. This fill is, you know, very sort of like meandering, but hopefully not too, it's not the kind of thing that's going to get you fired from a gig, you know. So notes in that last bit, we start on G, 3rd fret on the E, D, 5th fret on the A, G again, 5th fret on the D, and then jump back down to the low G. Okay, and then the line continues on as it did normally. So that's the first Flair moment, and it's definitely the trickiest of the two. The second one at the very end of the line, it's much more of a sort of like, yeah, after being very lyrical, we're kind of going a bit more rhythmic and just using, you know, quarter notes, accents with some 16th note ghost notes. So I'll play the whole line and show you where this one comes up. Okay, so once again, we're outlining chords using notes from the chords in a rough sort of arpeggio shape, but using space and groove to really kind of do something a little bit different here, because the rest of the line has been very melodic, very lyrical. This is much more just groove based, digging in a little bit more. I'll play the notes without the ghost notes and then explain how I'm using the ghost notes in a second. So C, 3rd fret on the A, open E. If you've got a C chord, it's great to go down to the 3rd as an open E. And then G, 3rd fret on the E, back to the original C. And then an F, so 1st fret on the E, A, 5th fret on the E, C, 3rd fret on the A, and then up to F, 8th fret on the E, and doing a pull off to an E to get us back to A, 5th fret on the E. I've just shown you the notes involved, but I'm also doing ghost notes in between each note. So the ghost notes are landing on the 1E and then from every beat subsequently on that 16th note accent. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and then for the end, no ghost note, just a pull off, 8th notes to get you back to A. So, should we do the whole line? Let's see if I can play it slowed down, because generally speaking, sometimes when you slow stuff down, you start overthinking and it gets so much worse. But let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, we got through it okay, I think. So that just about wraps things up for today. Hopefully that will give you some nice ideas on how to create your own bass lines, as well as, you know, learning this and putting it together and getting the hang of it. Because, yeah, you might be able to now think, oh yeah, I can think about what the notes are in a chord, think about where to land on root notes if you're not starting on a root note, you know, stuff like that, that once you start to do it comes more naturally. Have a go at learning this bass line and then see where it takes you. Once again, if you like that and you'd like to get the PDF and the backing track for this video and all the other original bass lessons that I've got on YouTube, please head over to my Patreon and consider becoming a subscriber. I really appreciate the support. If you've got any other questions or any thoughts about this one, do let me know in the comments below. Obviously, if I've missed anything glaringly obvious, then yeah, definitely do let me know. And let me know how you get on. I'll see you guys next time.